It's Pastor Adam's podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're spending some time with me today. It's Wednesday right now, but maybe you're spending time with me on a Thursday or Friday. You might get wild and do it on a Saturday. Who knows? But I'm just glad that you're with me right now, wherever that may be. Now, before we jump into the topic of today, right, I want to let you all know that I had a pretty big morning. I had what we call a close call. You see, every morning I watch ESPN as I eat my breakfast. When I leave, I usually, to go to work, I usually turn the channel to something for my wife to watch, right? This morning, I was about to leave without changing the channel. She then said to me, she was like, "Can you get me the remote? If I have to watch this, I'll die." I'm like, whoa, she'll die? I didn't know this. After all these years, I had no idea that if I accidentally left the TV on with ESPN playing, it would kill her. Now I know. I've been living dangerously for the past 22 years with her. I realize this now. See, now that I know, if I come home and I find her dead on the floor and I see that, ESPN is still playing on the TV, I guess then I'll realize that, well, this is my fault and I'm just going to have to go turn myself in. So I guess I'm living proof that you still learn things about your spouse 22 years later, right? But now I know, and her life should be safe now as long as I turn the channel. Anyways, let's get into what I really want to talk about today. We all have things that we love, things we're slightly maybe obsessed with. For some of you, it's, like antiquing, finding vintage furniture, refurbishing it. Others, maybe it's fantasy football or smoked brisket, like smoking meats, or maybe you buy throw pillows constantly that you don't need, or some people really like making sourdough. Maybe you love gardening, taking care of the yard. There's lots of things that we can get a little obsessive about. For me, it's guitars. I love playing guitar. I mean, I like playing multiple instruments, but the guitar is my heart, it's my favorite. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't just love playing guitars. I love looking at guitars. I love browsing guitar sites online, staring at custom finishes and reading about, hand-wound pickups and convincing myself that if I buy just one more guitar, it'll somehow unlock the secrets of the guitar universe. Now, I also want to put full disclaimer here. I'm fully aware that I might very well be the world's okayest guitarist, I'm not standing on stage lightning fast solos with my teeth, fireworks going off behind me, but man, I just love guitars. And if you're sitting here listening to me right now and you don't play an instrument, don't worry. You don't have to know the difference between a Stratocaster, a Telecaster, a Les Paul, P90 pickups. You need to know what that is to get something out of today's episode. I promise you that. Because today isn't really about guitars. It's about the tools God puts in our hands. We're talking about gifts, passion, service, and what it looks like to bring whatever quirky, specific, or ordinary tool God gave you, and we can use that to lay it at the feet of Jesus. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, let's dive in. Now, let's talk about culture for a second. If you've stepped inside a church or listened to modern Christian worship music over the past several years, you'll notice probably like some sort of a trend. You'll be like, oh, there seems to be a pattern here. Worship music has gone full ambient space station in terms of sound. It's all about like lush synth pads, atmospheric swells, endless reverb, and like ethereal soundscapes. We could say that, right? You close your eyes during a song, and for a second, you wonder if you're at church or floating through the galaxy in a sci-fi movie. Like, you might feel that way, or maybe it's just me, but right? And look, pads on synths, they're great. It's all good. But I'm going to be honest with you. I am a tube amp and overdrive guy. I like a good cranked guitar amp. I want that raw, warm, dynamic tone. And also, I'll admit I don't actually use a tube amp at church. I use a digital recreation of a tube amp, but it sounds just as good, man. Like, for reals. My Fractal FM9, which is a modeling, it's amazing. Do I have a real tube amp? I do. I actually played it during 4th of July. I played the national anthem through it, and it was magnificent. Like, that, you can't beat it, right? But back to the topic at hand regarding electric guitar. I find myself in a bit of a minority when it comes to modern worship leaders. Most worship leaders lead Sunday mornings with an acoustic guitar because, I mean, it's classic, right? It's safe. It's the standard. Or it's the standard look or uniform of a worship leader, along with maybe, denim jacket, skinny jeans, and a nitro cold brew coffee in tow, something like that, right? And actually, when I interviewed for the role here at Avalon Church, my lead pastor confessed something to me. He said, honestly, whenever I picture our next worship leader, I always envision someone leading with an acoustic guitar. Now, I lead with an electric guitar. And earlier on, you wonder, I was wondering, is this going to be too much? Is this going to somehow distract people from worshiping God? But my pastor came up to me later on and said something that meant the world to me. He said, you know what? I love that you lead with the electric guitar. It doesn't distract me at all. It actually helps me worship. So, good news, right? So, sure, maybe our church arrangements have electric guitar pushed a little higher in the mix than the original, studio recordings, but we just call that giving it a little more Pastor Adam feel. Now, here's why I share this story. We live in a world, and sometimes even church culture, that tries to press everybody into the same exact mold. We see what's popular, what's trending, or what everyone else is doing, and we start to think maybe the way God wired us, or me, or whatever, isn't standard enough. Maybe my tone is too loud. Maybe my personality is too dynamic. Maybe my gifts don't fit the current template. But in 1 Corinthians 12, 4-6, the Apostle Paul writes this: there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone is the same God at work. Notice what Paul says: different kinds of gifts, different kinds of service, different kinds of working. God did not create a kingdom of carbon copies. He didn't make a body where every organ is an eye, or every musician plays an acoustic guitar, or every leader leads the same way. God loves diversity of expression when it is fueled by, and this is important, the unity of spirit. Whatever tool God put in your hand, whether it's an electric guitar, a knack for spreadsheets, a gift for hospitality, or a brain built for problem solving, you don't have to apologize for how God wired you. You don't have to tone down the specific flair He gave you just to match the latest ambient trend around you. When you use your gift authentically for His glory, it creates a flavor, a uniqueness that points people directly to the creativity of the Creator. Now, playing an instrument is one gift that God gave me, but He also gave me another gift that we'll say that it requires a very specific kind of patience, which is crazy to think because I don't consider myself someone that has a ton of patience, but that's the side note. God gave me the ability to lead people, specifically musicians. And if you've ever worked with creative people, artists, musicians, you know that leading musicians is a lot like herding cats. It really is, right? It's a whole different thing, right? Creative people think differently. We feel deeply. We have very strong opinions about specific things. If you ask 3 guitar players what the best overdrive pedal is, you'll get a 4-hour debate, 2 broken friendships, and like 0 consensus. Now, the correct answer is a clon, by the way. A clon is a transparent type of overdrive. It sounds so good, just saying. But again, that's my opinion. My point is, artists can be stubborn. I can be stubborn. But usually that stubbornness comes from a good place. It comes from a fierce passion for artistry and wanting things to be excellent. Because God made me a creative, I understand that world. I can see into the heart of the musician who's feeling frustrated or passionate about a certain detail. I get the artistic drive. But here's the plot twist. God also blessed me with an administrative, goal-oriented brain. I live right on the border of 2 completely different worlds. The creative world, where feelings, art, tone, and beauty live, and then the execution world, where schedules, deadlines, call times, and getting the job done, getting that to actually happen. Now, if you live in the artistic world, you might write a beautiful song, but you'll show up 45 minutes late to rehearsal and forget to plug in to the sound system, right? And by the way, one of my best friends, Greg, hey Greg, if you're listening, he doesn't listen all that often, but I don't know how many times that we would get everything together for a rehearsal or a gig or anything like that. He gets everything ready and he starts strumming his guitar, no sound. I look over at his cable, it's not plugged into the actual guitar, and then I go plug it in. I'm like, it happened so many times. I just shake my head, I'm like, Greg, it's crazy. Sorry, Greg, I just had to share that. Anyways, back to the message at hand. If you only live in the execution world, everything runs like clockwork, but it might lack that heart and soul of the creative mind that the creative mind provides. So being able to bridge that gap to walk into a room full of passionate, opinionated creatives and validate their heart and then lovingly herd those cats toward a shared deadline and a common goal, well, that's also a gift. And my goal with that gift isn't to rule over people. It's to serve them, to elevate them, and to humbly exceed expectations for the kingdom of God. And isn't that true for so many of us? Maybe you're listening right now and your gift isn't music or leadership. Maybe you're the person who knows how to step into a chaotic situation or a chaotic family dynamic, an unorganized office, a messy community project, and you have that rare ability to bring peace, order, and direction without running people over. That's not an accident. God placed you in those spaces on purpose. Look at Exodus 31, 1 through 5. This is one of my favorite overlooked passages in the Bible. God's talking to Moses about building the tabernacle. And he says, "See, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skill, to make an artistic design for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to gauge in all kinds of crafts." So, did you catch that? The very first person in the Bible described as being filled with the Spirit of God wasn't a preacher. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a prophet. he was a craftsman. He was a guy who knew how to work with his hands, design raw materials, organize project timelines, execute artistic beauty for the worship of God. You see, God cares about execution. God cares about details. God cares about structure and art. And when you use your leadership, your organization, your creative problem solving to build up others, we're walking in the same exact spirit of Bezalel. So let's bring this thing home to where where we're sitting right now. Whether you're driving in your car on a morning commute, doing dishes or working out or sitting at a desk, I want you to ask a question that God asked a man named Moses 1,000 years ago. I don't know if you know about this guy named Moses. Maybe you've heard of him. In Exodus 4, Moses was standing in front of a burning bush, right? God was calling Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, and Moses was terrified. He started making excuses. What if they don't believe me? What if I trip over my words? What if I'm not qualified for this? And in verse 2, God looks at Moses and asks him a simple, profound question. What is that in your hand? Moses looks down and he answers, a staff. Think about that. It was a shepherd's staff. It wasn't a magic wand. It wasn't a royal scepter. It was a dusty wooden stick that Moses used every single day to herd sheep. It was ordinary. It was familiar. To Moses, it was just the tool of his everyday job. But God told him to use it. And that ordinary wooden staff became an instrument of God that he used to part the Red Sea, to bring water from a rock and demonstrate his almighty power to an entire nation. God didn't ask Moses to go find a brand new elite tool that he didn't possess. God asked, what's already in your hand? For me, sometimes that's a guitar. Sometimes it's a leadership mindset that to help direct a worship team. But what's in your hand today? Ask yourself that. What can I use? Maybe it's the gift of encouragement. Maybe you have a knack for sending the right text at the right time to pull someone out of despair. Maybe it's hospitality. You make your home feel like a sanctuary for people who are hurting. Maybe it's financial stewardship or teaching children or cooking a meal or fixing cars or organizing administrative chaos. Whatever it is, even if you feel like it's just like you're the world's okayest at it, when you yield it to Jesus, he anoints it or blesses it, right? And just so you know, worship is not limited to Sunday morning stage. Worship's not just saying 4 or 5 songs with an acoustic or an electric guitar under bright lights. Worship is taking the tool God placed in your hands, your talent, your career, your passions, your personality, and holding it out to him saying, Jesus, this came from you and I'm giving it back. I'm giving it back, right back to you. In Romans 12:1, Paul writes, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Your gift becomes worship the moment you use it to serve others, to honor him. If you're a teacher, teaching with grace and patience is worship. If you're a mechanic, fixing an engine with honesty and excellence is worship. If you're a leader, guiding stubborn artistic cats towards a vision with humility and love is worship. And yes, if you're a guitar player plugged into a tube amp and playing with all your heart for the God who saved you, that is worship. So as we wrap up today's particular episode, I want to challenge you. Don't compare your tool to someone else's tool. Don't look at what the person next to you is holding and wish you had their talent, their platform, their style, or their confidence. God didn't call you to be them. He called you to be you. He gave you a specific mix of quirks, passions, abilities, and perspectives so that you could reach people and honor him in the ways that nobody else can. I mean, have you ever really thought about it like that? I just recently did. That's why I'm talking about it. And that's what I had for you today. I always feel like the ending of these podcasts are so abrupt. Like we're cooking and then I'm like, I'm just done. I know I've mentioned that before, but it's so weird. But thank you guys for tuning in. If this episode has encouraged you, take a second to share it with a friend, leave a review, or send it to that creative, stubborn musician in your life who needs a little love today. So until next time, I'm going to end I got to come up with a good ending tagline. So maybe until next time, keep seeking Jesus, keep using the tools in your hand, and I'll catch you next Wednesday.